Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Spiral Dynamics video series. And this time, and this video, is going to be about the color green. So once again, I want to thank Actualized and Leo for bringing this subject up back into my life. In the last month, I have been researching it, I have been living it quite profoundly, and I've seen the different aspect it has changed in my perception of life. I am a green turning yellow, and yellow is the next color in line, the next video in the video series. But this, I think, is going to be the most profoundly life-changing video series for you if you take it seriously. Because green is full of green characteristics, full of green qualities, but it also has its failures, its downfalls, its pitfalls that you want to avoid being green. And this is something that we're going to talk about in the end of this particular video. Because in the beginning, I just want you to see, most of you are orange or green, or you have one foot in orange and one foot in green, meaning that you are a little bit materialistic, successful oriented. Maybe you still like to consume, and but in the same time, a green hates consumerism. And that's what we're going to talk about. So the idea here is to give you the framework and the structure to where your consciousness is at right now. The reason that you're still judging people who are in blue or in orange, which are the previous videos that you have to watch before you watch this. Because the whole idea is that you understand that if you are green, you don't want to get stuck here. Green is something that you move through to the next color. And a lot of people get stuck here because they think that this is the end. They think that this is the right way to live. And this is a part of the green ideology. It's not an ideology like we had in blue, where we thought that there was one God and an absolute truth, and our community and our country is the absolute best. Green seeks unity. I would say that green is probably defined by love, personal awareness. Green is everything that has to do with YouTube how-to videos, but unlike orange, which was successful or success-oriented and money and thinking only about themselves, when the pendulum moves to the other side from the single or the standalone back into the group modality, green moves into society. Green moves into communities. Green is more sociable, more approachable. Green is a hugger. Green understands that everything is one. But the way that he perceives it, blue was also a social type of person. But that was because he needed his church, or he needed his synagogue, or he needed his type of belonging to something, having a rule set. So unlike that, where blue had a hierarchy, green wants to flatten all hierarchies, wants to see everyone equal. Animal rights, human rights, activism, going out and protesting for helping the ones that are in need. All of these things are green characteristics. And in a second, I'm just going to go over the list that are written down and the ideas that I had. And what I want you to do is I want you to just listen and see if you agree with this or you don't agree with it, and why. Because if you're resisting this, then it means that maybe you have forsaken green, you're beyond green, you moved into the yellowish area of your life. And if you're resisting it, you might even be below that, like an orange or a blue, because orange really hates everything that's green. Orange hates that fuzzy stuff, the way that you can say it. The fuzzy, hippie, weird, metaphysical concepts, aliens and conspiracy theories, anything that's not quantable, anything that's not scientific, anything that's irrational or illogic, or I can't see it, All of these things are things that orange hates, and this is why green had to move through orange in order to become green. Orange, for example, won't like psychedelics because they can't be explained. They might try psychedelics, and then what will happen is that either that will slowly open their mind up to emotions and feelings and consciousness and evolution and stuff like that, and they will slowly turn green, because this is something that happens naturally. When we have a mindset or a belief system and we see enough evidence around us, then that mindset and belief system slowly starts to change. But we need to reach a certain threshold. Before we reach that threshold, we're holding on to that belief system. And we're always looking for more evidence from the outside that will sustain that belief system that we're holding on to. Until at some point, we call it in Hebrew, the straw that broke the camel's back. In other words, when we add and add and add and add until one of these straws broke the camel's back, you have enough information to create a new decision. You stop believing in God. You become an atheist or a nihilist. Most people that are atheists are nihilists, by the way, but they just don't know. So this is what happens with Green. Green is very open-minded, okay? Green will try psychedelics because he knows that there's altered consciousness levels and he wants to explore. It doesn't mean that all of them will do that, but they're open to it and they're not going to judge somebody and they're not going to be afraid of it as well. So, Green is about social conscious, about supporting humanitarian cases, about activism. Green is about protests, going out into the streets, showing who we are. We are the people. We have power. Live and let live type of attitude. Diversity. Multiculturalism. So unlike orange or blue, that blue really hated other cultures. So they say, I am the best. My way of thinking is the best. And orange was only thinking about themselves. So green is about going and exploring and understanding and accepting. Flattening any hierarchies, equality. Relationships. Green wants to build relationships. Green doesn't trust only himself or herself. Human bonding, common ground. So if there's something or a way that we need to decide something, Green will sit with the entire group and everybody will make the decision together. So Green is about democracy, is about equality of rights. Unlike in hierarchies, when we have one person that's making the decision, like in a household that is blue, when the man wants to be the man and the woman is underneath it because, well, how can we say differently? Blue is sexist. All major religions are sexist in some way. They put the woman beneath the man. For example, green will come, if you see a green gathering, you're probably going to see a lot of people that are hugging or touching or sitting next to each other or singing together. You can't imagine this in orange. You can't imagine this in a cooperation. No, it will be a handshake, you know, or maybe that little, you know, the thing that guys do, like 2 slaps on the back. For example, the States is very, very orange. The more you move towards the West Shore, like, for example, California, then you get more and more people who are green, more community, environmental. Green will do things like yoga or meditation. Green will talk about the way that they feel. So orange is very, very left mind. Orange is only about the logic. The conversation are about what I need, okay? But green will try to make you talk more about your emotions and how do you feel? And how does this, is this going to make you feel? And he's going to open up his heart. He's going to talk about, from the bottom of his heart, being more gentle and humble with our emotions. And this is, by the way, one of the things that green fails to find the balance in, which we'll talk about in the end of the video, of where your pitfalls are as green and what will make you move more towards yellow, the yellow color, which is more in balance. I wouldn't say more in harmony, but in balance, and doesn't take a side as much as green does. Green is about teamwork, dialoguing, sharing ideas, talking about our feelings, exploring altered states of consciousness. Green is about spirituality. Unlike orange, that resisted any type of metaphysical concept or spirituality, blue had spirituality, but that spirituality was defined as the absolute truth, as a religion. Green is about open spirituality, but in the same time, green will practice what other greens practice. Personal development is all about green. Where orange had personal development, but it was about how am I going to create myself to become better success, or more progressive, how am I going to get more women. Orange is probably somewhere between your 20s and 30s. Everybody's trying to stand up, showing their ego, showing that they're worth something, going to the gym and looking good and talking about success and progress and talking about money. And then at your 30s, 35s, of course, some people get stuck. You open yourself up to marriage and unconditional love, and you have children, and you seek more than just your financial success. You seek personal awareness. You seek happiness. Green is about creativity, about beauty, about art, but not art to make money, or not creativity to make money. Green could be, I was a computer programmer and I was completely green, and I was going out to the streets and I was protesting and I was trying to teach other people, each other and stuff like that. I had a phase of green. I can completely relate to most of these things. Green is about sacrifice of the self for the community. It's about personal growth. is about opening to new age concepts. Crystals, to healing, to channelings, for intelligent design, for the existence of aliens and other civilizations. Green loves to talk about all this type of stuff. Green loves conspiracy theories, whether they are true or not true. They just love them, the hidden truth, the things that, and then he demonizes governments and hierarchies because of that. Type of fear that we're always being lied to, and therefore there's an enemy. Still, within green, there's black and there's white. Even though green doesn't like to admit it, there is demonization and there are enemies. The stereotype of green is the type of new age hippie, open-minded type of hippie. Green will prefer alternative medicine to medicine, for example. Green doesn't watch the news because the news is full of, again, of orange and blue, depending on your country. Orange will always strive for individualism and success. This is what they teach in most of our schools. Blue is the news that always tells you about religion and stuff like that. It can be in the Middle East, for example. A lot of Arab countries are still like that. But blue still prefers religion and the construct that put everything together. Remember, blue is really about sustaining the same situation over and over again. So there's no actual progress in blue, unlike orange that only wants progress and believes that life is about everlasting change, you know? Green and oranges are like most married couples. So the woman will be more green towards green, heart-oriented, and the man will be more orange because he thinks that he should provide and he needs to be successful. So that's why you see there's a lot of arguments, because the woman wants to talk about the way that she feels, but in the same time an orange is very logical and straightforward and only wants the context without everything that is around. So the man doesn't know how to listen to the woman's needs. He just needs a set of instructions. That's what orange has. That's an orange conversation. And where I work, which is a lot of oranges, that's the way that we talk to each other. And I've had to learn how to live with that over many, many years. But you will understand that as a yellow, it's really easy for me to be dynamic, to recognize the blues and the oranges and the greens, so I can relate and talk with them in the same level that they are and about the subjects that they find interesting and from their own perspective, which makes managing them much easier. Green likes nurturing employees. Green might reject materialism and brands. Maybe they won't go with any brands at all, and we'll see anything that is like internet shopping or over shopping or buying in a new house or buying a cool car. They will reject that most of the time because they will think that materialism and money is sort of evil. Why? Because that was the state that they come from orange. So when the pendulum swings, it has to swing all the way to the other extremity, so we can learn the lessons from that as well. Green can sometimes be emotionally needy. Men, for example, that is orange, will only look at the external looks of a woman that they are pursuing. So they will grade them 1 to 10, and they'll say, oh, I don't go under anyone that is 7. Okay? But a green will look at the personality. Is she cute? Do we have some things in common? Does she have a sense of humor? You know, a little deeper, you know, a little bit more emotional. Whole Foods, for example, is green. Green is about the freedom of the heart. Now, let's talk a little bit about the issues that green has. Until now, you've probably noticed that most of you are green. People who are following these type of YouTube channels about personal development, about making the world a better place by seeking higher consciousness and elevating the frequency of our body, because that's what my YouTube channel is pretty much about. But when you understand the modality of spiral dynamics, then you can use this to create a new type of self and a new type of awareness within yourself. Now, you don't have to go and tell everyone, you're green, you're green, you're green, you know. I've tried to do that and explain the spiral dynamics in a 2-minute, 3-minute conversation with some people. They're very impressed, but they don't have enough examples. And this is why we give examples here. So we can understand that there is, even though green doesn't even like spiral dynamics. Why? Because it's a generalization and it's not equal. You cannot generalize people. These are the pitfalls of green, because we can, in some way, in order to understand, we can generalize a society according to where they are in their level of development. It's very different for Africans and South Americans and Europeans and Americans. The culture is different, the news is different. The amount of people that change over time is very different. For example, in the States, it's all about progress, because the States is very, very orange. And that means that the state has innovators and has high tech and they have, the Hollywood industry and they have new inventions all the time. Well, Europe is a little bit more behind. Yes, of course, there's still innovations here and there, depending on the country, of course. But they're more laid back, saying, something, we're very ancient and we have a culture to preserve and we like the way that we live right now. So that's the orange mentality and the green mentality are very, very different, and they will judge each other. So green, like all the colors of tier 1, is still judging, still looking at the world and saying, I can make everyone green. No, green, you can't go to Africa and build a hospital and build schools and teach them what you teach in Europe or in United States. You just can't do that. They have to move through the entire process. They have to spiral up. They have to learn. You don't have the infrastructure for that right now. Green thinks that you can duplicate anyone into being a green, It doesn't work that way exactly. And no, there's no black and white. You are not the only one that is always correct. Equality is nice, but not everybody is equal. Let me give you an example that will piss off a true green. What if I tell you that I don't believe that everybody should deserve to have children? Think about that for a second. And what do I mean? I mean that there's people that we know in advance that if we had a test, that we know they're going to beat up their children, a molesting parent, okay, or a molesting husband, for example, and we know that the child is not going to be loved or cherished, or some people that bring children just because of the religion told them to bring 10 children. So a green will immediately say, no, equality, everybody should have a right to do that. But what if we could test that? What would we do if we could test people before they had a baby and we disallowed some of them to have a baby, for example? Now, this would truly piss off a green. What if I tell you that I don't believe that democracy is the right way of living, Because we've been, anchored with this opinion that democracy is the right way. Everybody has an equal right for an opinion. What if I told you that the right way is to let the geniuses of the world run the world? Just like you get your doctors to heal you and to perform very complicated operations, you choose the best of the best. So why don't you choose the best of the best to make the decisions for everybody else as well? All these type of decisions, where there's a hierarchy, and we need a hierarchy. If you want to run a government, you need a hierarchy. United States, for example, it's not one country, it's 52 states. And each state has its own governor. And each state is divided into subparts as well. So that's a hierarchy. We have governors and we have mayors and we have different sections inside a city. And that's a hierarchy. And green dislikes hierarchies. And this is one of the pitfalls of green, because in order to create a civilization that grows, you need an infrastructure. You need roads, for example. You need management. You need people that are local and people that are governing as well. And all these things they're just not equal one to the other. So what are some of the issues that green has? And you probably have it as well. Green usually has an issue with money. So a lot of my clients, for example, people who come to my workshops, when we're talking about manifestation, and I ask them about manifestation of money, everybody's like a little bit, I'm a massage therapist, so I ask for $50 an hour. And everybody has an issue with money because we think that money is manipulative. And we see the people that are in charge, and we don't like the people who are in charge usually, We usually like to demonize them and hate them and ridicule them and gossip about them and stuff like that. And we think that they gain that position by manipulating money. So green usually has an issue with money. Why? Because he came from the pendulum of orange, which was all about success. And now you hate that because you don't understand that everything is one and don't have that perspective yet. So usually green will have some sort of, he will say, I can do anything in my life. I don't need to have money. I'm very happy with whatever I want. But money is good in green hands. Green will use that money for nature. Green will use that money for groups of individuals that need it, It's better that the money of the world that is right now sitting in orange hands will be in green hands, for example. Green thinks that everybody can jump up to be green, even if it's unsustainable. Just like the example that I said, not everybody right now is ready to be green, and green needs to understand that. Green is not a big part of the world. Green is like 15% of total influence. Right now we are seeing more and more people move towards green. So green is about vegetarians and vegans that are doing it from a philosophical point of view. Why? Because they understand that the animals have rights, just like human beings have rights. Green is still judging, but it feels guilty for it. So that's funny, you know, because a vegetarian is a really good example. Because I have a friend that's really, really green, and she's dating a friend that's really, really orange. By the way, this is most couples. And she told me that he catches fish from the sea, and she chose to eat them with him, even though she's a vegetarian. And then asked, okay, so you're a pescatarian. She said, yes, but I don't like it. I feel guilty. But I said, but he's honoring the fish. He's catching them himself. It's not a part of the industry, right? So why are you feeling guilty? She says, because that's the way that green really is. Green will feel guilty when he's blaming somebody else or he's gossiping because he knows that that's not the way that the gurus are doing it. And he's following the gurus, but the gurus are somewhere in the in the purplish, turquoise, yellow type of spiritual understanding. So green practices things, but he doesn't practice them deeply. He practices them to be a part of the green modality. So he practices yoga, but he doesn't go into yoga. He won't practice 7 times a week because that will actually turn him yellow, because yellow have more discipline in a chosen way of life, because they understand that it makes them reach the highest states of awareness and consciousness. For example, green is very easily offended and is very sensitive, easily triggered as well. Takes the trouble of the world on their shoulders. So green blames himself for not doing enough because he hasn't protested enough, and he hasn't gone on Facebook enough and written comments and saw enough YouTube videos and stuff like that. Green believes that he can always change and do more. So he's always trying to persuade other people. So for example, a vegan will become more like a religion of vegans because they have that mob mentality or a group mentality that we need to change everybody else because veganism is the right way. So they're judging other people, and at the same time, because they're judging other people, they're actually judging a part of themselves that they don't accept. So green has that type of shame or guilt that he's carrying around, that he's not doing enough for himself, for other people, because there's so much shit going on in the world, and he can see it and he talks about it, but it's not enough, and he knows it's not enough. So he goes out to the streets and protests, but then it's not enough as well because change didn't come yet from doing all of that stuff. Green can be triggered by oppression, by anything that is blue or orange, by racism, consumerism, exploitation, capitalism. Green loves conspiracy theories. This is the state of mind that green opens up and learns and sees that he's been lied to. They don't usually go out and learn or follow the information and really investigate. Some of the conspiracy theories are wrong. Some of them are obviously true, you know, and it's obvious to all of us, you know, the 9/11 thing, the alien cover-ups and technology and stuff like that. Obviously it's true. Even the COVID-19, it's obviously true. We can see the evidence. We hear the doctors. We can see the numbers and stuff like that. But green is stuck into that. And then he tries to take other people with him. And that creates a mentality of fear. Once you have that mentality of fear, you're looking for more information and more evidence to strengthen your mentality and your belief system. So green lives in a perpetual state of sort of guilt and type of fear from the unknown, from the things that they are doing to us and stuff like that, from why am I not eating healthy enough, and guilt because maybe I did eat a steak once in a while, or maybe I want to have a hamburger just like the orange does, because the orange doesn't care about their body too much, only about success and money and stuff like that. So green carries that within him. Green might be against progress and wants to revert back to communities. Green can sometimes be unrealistic or too idealistic and too impractical. So green is very emotional and he doesn't know how to stop his emotions. For example, in order for you to become more yellow, you have to have discipline. And discipline doesn't come from being only heart-oriented. Discipline comes from the mind, sometimes overriding the heart and the emotion. Like in a stressful situation when you have to make immediate decisions, just like before a car accident. If you get too overwhelmed and stressed and you know you're like surprised and stuff like that, then you don't have the mind working with you. And green has this tendency sometimes. Green has unhealthy, green manifestation can be something like a mob mentality and get caught up with groups of people that are more green, even though they're very compassionate. So green is so compassionate and loving and sees the heart in everyone that sometimes green is being used, or I would even say molested. I was, for example, pretty fucked over with money 3 times in the stage when I was much more green. I believed everyone and everything that they said. I saw the heart in everyone and I wanted to love everyone. I wanted to believe the story. And I'm in a country, you know, everybody has their own manipulations and stuff. So it's easy to use someone like me. Now, I'm still naive, but I have people that protect me. And any decision that I do in regard to investments and money has to go through my wife and a couple of my best friends. Green will deny the differences between men and women, even though differences do exist. And, well, there's a whole video about that. Green will demonize materialism, all businesses, corporations, and money is the root of most of our problems. Green might even say that spiral dynamics is a hierarchy and we can't generalize people into these type of boxes. Green sometimes doesn't want to face the brutal reality of what we have right now, because the situation on planet Earth is very complicated, it's very complex. And we can't just have a black and white thinking. It's not all about love and happiness. You can't change that right now. You have to find solutions that are dynamic. And you have to look at the whole, the broad, you know, the higher perspective of every situation. It's not all about love and money. It's not all about government decisions. And it's very complicated. And Green doesn't like to see that way, because Green thinks that he has a solution and everything is about the heart. Green can love to talk about spirituality, but actually be unable to embody it in the way that they really want to, because Green still judges others. And that's why it's not really true unconditional love for the fellow man. He wants to say that everybody is one, but he doesn't understand that everybody is one in different stages of development. Green lacks the discipline, which opens up deeper states of being and the unconditional love that I was referring to. Let's take another example. For example, music. So rap music, for example, is more orange, talking about our success and women and how I'm going to shoot everybody that stands in my way. And you can even say that that's a blue type of music, you know. And green type of music is more in harmony, talking about not only about the love between two strangers, but the love to the planet. Like all the ayahuasca songs, those are very green. Ayahuasca is green, actually. All the medicine plants are a green state of being. So you have civilizations, like in Peru, that are much more green, which is funny because they're not materialistic, like the States, which is orange, or like Middle Eastern countries that are more blue, for example. Politicians are very blue or orange. There's very few politicians that are actually green. But green also suffers from the conformity of non-conformity. So green is going to be a vegan or a vegetarian, but occasionally wear a belt that is also made out of dead animals, you know. And green is going to say, no, I don't conform, but they're going to wear the same type of clothes. So like Burning Man, you know, when they have the Burning Man style. So the style is about radical self-expression, but everybody kind of wears the same type of clothes, or everybody radicalizes themselves in the same extremities like everybody else. So green will practice the same type of things that other non-conformist people will practice, like yoga or alternative medicine. But here's an example. Green will overdo alternative medicine. Sometimes you need regular medicine. Dentists, there's nothing to replace dentists right now. You can't go to somebody that will give you some sort of plant or that will heal you with theta healing or meditation or stuff like that. So that's the type of extremities that we're talking about. Now you might tell yourself that I'm not that extreme, and maybe you are green turning yellow. Maybe you've seen that, because yellow is much more neutral, and that's the beauty of it. And we're going to talk about yellow in the next video. We've talked about blue, orange, and green, and I give you a lot of examples of how they talk to each other, but still these are all tier 1, and the way that they think is still in black and white, and they still judge other people that are not in their state of consciousness or in their color group, you can say. Now, of course, everything I say is a generalization, but you can clearly see it. Most of your parents are probably blue or orange, Most of the people that you grew up with are probably orange, or more success-oriented, or the conversation that you have with an orange person is shallow. It's about the logic, it's about money, it's not about the things that are deeper. A green will encourage a conversation to talk from the bottom of your heart, about the way that you feel. Just like a woman is more green and more spiritually awakened than most men are, that are still kind of sleeping, but they are dragging us with them, which is beautiful. And that's the harmony between the colors. These are tier 1. And the next time we're going to talk is about yellow, and have quite a lot to say about yellow, not as much as about green, because I wanted this video for you, because most of my viewers are still green. I wanted you to capture the green essence. I wanted you to see the pitfalls and understand where green fails and why you have failed to balance yourself between the logic and the heart and what you're trying to fight. Green is significantly less mellow than yellow. Yellow is doing the changes, but is not trying to enforce the changes. Yellow doesn't fight in that way. Yellow is still, remember, we moved between blue that is social to orange that is individual, and then went back to green that is social. And now the pendulum swings back again to yellow, the individual. Sometimes an introvert, sometimes not an introvert. A yellow knows much more, is a system builder or an analyst. He sees the whole picture. He can move into a green state or a blue state or an orange state. Yellow can be an orange in business management, but it's probable that his business is going to be about something that helps the planet, for example. Like what I do, the YouTube channel, about helping people raise their awareness, about my hyperbaric chamber business, about my IT job, where I do things that help improve technology to different corporations and stuff like that. I don't see it like a green would see it. So, I hope this modality helps you. Practice, practice, practice. I'm only going to give the next video in a couple of weeks. There's a lot more exercise that I need to do with the yellow consciousness and see more examples and put together more theories and more examples for you to be able to understand it much more, because you're not going to understand everything about yellow. Like I said, most people that are green, when I say these different concepts, like I told you, that are more in harmony with the future of humanity, but they don't flatten hierarchies, and they don't see everyone as equal, for example, which is something that is green really is based on. Everybody is equal, Those are yellow concepts. And I didn't just give you those examples. I wanted to trigger you into understanding where the green mentality is stuck and why greens have been stuck there for sometimes even decades, and you end your life being a green and not in complete harmony. But you will notice that the older you get, the more yellow you become and neutral. And you don't try to fight anything anymore. You look at the facts and you look at all of them. So you don't judge and see things in black or white or dual, because tier 1 is very dual. It's black or white, it's man or female, it's positive and negative, it's good and it's bad. But when you go yellow, things start to blend. You see the higher perspective of things. Thank you very much, everyone. Namaste, and I will see you in the next color.